Hello and welcome back to the Loyal Sons Show. That's at the Loyal Sons on all of the social medias. Follow us here and follow us there for Pitt sports content you will not want to miss. If you love bye weeks and also hate bye weeks, this is the place for you. The Loyal Sons Show, a safe, sunshiny place for your Pitt athletics fix. We are Squid Dylan and David, aka the Loyal Sons. And guys, we did it. We made it. We were so good. We set our please wins. We steadied up. We didn't get too over our skis. And Pitt made it through that 3-game stretch that we've been holding our breath through against 3 abysmal teams before the bye week, before we have to saddle up against the meat of our schedule, and we made it through unscathed. Congratulations to us, boys.
Clap it up. Clap it up for yourself. Loyal Sons listening, pat yourselves on the back. We mentioned it, I think, right after Florida State. It's like, they could go into that stretch 7-2. That would be really cool. That could set up for some really big games that matter. I think in the back of our heads, we all kind of thought there would be a letdown in that stretch. You know, we have this new shiny toy freshman quarterback. But yeah, they made it through and did it fairly easily. I mean, I'm sure we all had moments where it's like, oh, here's the letdown, here it comes. But I mean, none of these games were really nail biters whatsoever. They kind of handled these bad teams like you should. And we'll get to it later. Maybe NC State's not as bad as we thought. I don't know.
Maybe.
That win's looking a little more impressive now. But all that being said, feels good to be 7-2 going into this bye week and ultimately Notre Dame. Really good opportunity in front of the Panthers.
You know, it was a pretty stress-free stretch when you look back at the last 3 games and realize that David at no point said, oh no, we're going to lose this game, aren't we? Because that's a staple. Whenever things get ugly, David plays that card, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, when we give up a first down on the first drive, we're going to lose.
Yeah, that's a staple, and oftentimes it is justified because Pitt comes out looking so dysfunctional, and we're down for way longer than we should be. But it didn't really happen. The offense came out looking great. I mean, to start the game at least, there were some hiccups in between for the Syracuse game, I guess, but they scored so many points, and the teams we played weren't all that good offensively, and the defense got into a rhythm. So it was very nice that we could just kind of sit back and enjoy a majority of that 3-game stretch without worrying about the game happening.
Our big thing going into this stretch, knowing what was on the horizon, was take care of business. No more season-ending injuries, and above all, if we start beating the piss out of these terrible teams, steady up. Don't get ahead of yourselves. Don't say the B word. Don't say the G word. Just get this done. Go 3-0. Be 7-2 going into the bye week, and then we can start thinking a little bit of stuff. So, fellas, let me ask. Are you starting to think a little bit of stuff? Where are we in terms of stuff vis-a-vis thinking?
I think it's fair to start looking at, well, I'm going to say I think it's fair because I have started doing it. I think it's fair to look at the ACC championship scenarios. We only have 2 conference games left, so yes, Georgia Tech and Miami will be good tests. They're 2 of the 3 best teams on this schedule. 2 of the best 4. Louisville has been better than we thought initially. It's not out of the question that Pitt could win both of those games. And at that point, you know, there are some scenarios, tiebreaker scenarios that you can look at. So I think it's more than reasonable to root for certain scenarios in these other ACC games. And there's a chance that this Pitt team could be playing in Charlotte. Now, there's a lot that still has to happen for that to be the case, but it's not out of the question with the way they've been rolling these past few weeks with the emergence of Mason Heinchel, with a bye week where we can get some of these guys we've been missing back. If we can get a Desmond Reed back for the rest of the season, Rasheem Biles back for the rest of the season, Jaden Moore is now healthy, played his first game as a Panther last week. If they can be at full strength, no reason, no team in the ACC that the Panthers can't beat. There's no juggernauts.
Before the season, we knew the last 3 games would be a tough stretch. After a few weeks, whenever we saw Georgia Tech beat everybody, we thought it would be troublesome too. So we thought there was a pretty realistic chance Pitt just lost out no matter how good we started. And it wouldn't necessarily be a huge indictment on the team. They could have still played well and lost those 3 games. And it'd be like, damn, sucks we went down the drain again this year. Wouldn't be exactly the same as last year. But now the way we're trending and the way some of those other teams are trending, I think anything is possible. Notre Dame's really solid. Carson Beck is now Carson Beck again. I don't know how he started off as strong as he did, but he is now Carson Beck. And Georgia Tech lost, and they've had a lot of close games. So I think anything could happen in those games. I'm not going to be surprised one way or another, but I think Pitt has a chance at any of them. A good chance.
Yeah. Those remaining opponents, they look gettable. And I don't know how much that impacts the mentality of the team going into the preparations for those games. I know for me as a fan, that is huge. Because if you had asked me a couple weeks ago, would you be okay with getting swept those last 3 games? I'd tell you, give me one of those games. But also, worst case Ontario, I've seen enough from Mason that I can get excited about next season.
Yeah, just don't get blown out every game down the stretch. If they put up a fight against those teams and Mason looks good and the offense is still scoring points, that's something to build on at least. But we're beyond that. Now
that Carson Beck is Carson Beck again, just a richer version of the one from Georgia. And now that, Georgia Tech has got, and Notre Dame looked surprisingly lackluster against a Boston College team that we reduced to ash. Feeling different.
So did the Stanford game make you feel different specifically?
Yeah, we just did our whole agenda in reverse. So let's finish with the beginning. Pitt takes care of business against Stanford 35-20 in a game that in no way, shape, or form was as close as the score indicates. You read off any of the numbers and you'll get a picture of it. Stanford had 326 yards, 97 of them were in the last 3 minutes against Pitt's 2s, negative 10 yards rushing. Pitt's defense had a day. Mason Heinchel had a day for 3 quarters. A lot to unpack here. I'll let you guys tell us where we should begin.
I'll start by talking about the very start of the game because, we talked about it in
chronology,
the intro.
Yeah.
Just don't have any stressful games. Just take care of business with these, and that they did. You get a 4th down stop and a 1, 2, 3, 4 play touchdown drive to go up 7-0. And at that point, I'm sure we're all expecting a similar game to Boston College where we won by 30, 40, as many points as we wanted. And we got a lot of points, but it was a little bit more of a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, the first 2 Stanford scoring drives were, the field goal that probably should have been an interception. Tip ball lands directly in Braylon Lovelace's hands. And I think he was thinking, I'm taking this to the house, and then forgot the ball and dropped it. That was on a 3rd down. So then Stanford kicks a field goal.
At least he didn't throw it this time.
Right. Yeah, that was
progress.
All right. And then Stanford doinks a field goal. And then the next drive, patented Pat Narduzzi timeout before a third down. Comes out of the third down. Rashad Battle tips the ball directly to the wide receiver for Stanford, and that results in a touchdown. So Stanford has 10 points, where those 10 points very easily instead could have been pick sixes going the other way.
That first Stanford touchdown on the tipped ball 3rd and long was a confluence of three things I want to talk about. One, you have Narduzzi calling a timeout on a 3rd or 4th and long and immediately getting burnt. You have two, a nonsense play. I have no way to prove this. There's no metric or math behind this, but Pitt absolutely leads the country in nonsense and has for our entire lives. 3, Rashad Battle, Insight Global is calling for you, buddy.
That play was so weird. During the timeout, I ran to the bathroom real quick, and I did not get back out of the bathroom in time for the play to happen. So I heard a combination of, yeah, wait, what? It was such a weird reaction. I had
General
no clue.
confusion.
I'm like, did they get this or do we have the ball? What happened here? And I come out and I said, what happened? And they just said, you have to watch this. There's no way to explain it. And it was as dumb as advertised. It looked like Rashad Battle knew what route was coming, but still found a way to give up a touchdown.
Yeah, Squid, you said you can't put that one on Narduzzi after the third down timeout. You said he basically just told Rashad Battle, hey, this is what they're going to run. Rashad Battle ran the route for him and somehow just didn't get his head around quick enough and tips the ball directly up in the air.
Yeah, so that was the second play of the game that Rashad Battle let up a huge gain on one of those nonsense plays. The first being on that first drive. Pocket collapses, scramble drill. Gerber, Stanford's quarterback, the Scandinavian fella, he finds the tight end Roush deep. Rashad Battle chasing after him after having apparently just completely lost track of him. Gained about 50 yards on that one. So that was 2 completions over Rashad Battle in stupid or broken plays, one of which led to a touchdown. They totaled about 80, 90 yards on those. So, yeah. Pitt's down 10-7 at this point to Stanford because of 2 absolute nonsense plays, and Rashad Battle is responsible for both of them.
Thankfully, outside of Rashad Battle and Braylon Lovelace just dropping a ball in his lap, it's pretty lights out until garbage time.
Yeah, Pitt's defense had 3 interceptions. We just named 2 more that they could have had, and there were at least 3 other balls that should have been no-brainer pick sixes. I would like to go back and see the advanced metrics on like
turnover worthy passes.
Turnover worthy throws. Goldbranson had to have, I don't know, 10 in that game. I would say I would take him off of any 2026 mock draft big boards now, if you had him on there.
There was one interception we were laughing about because there was a play action and it was one of those throwback to the other side of the field with the tight end plays. And the way Goldbranson stepped up in the pocket, he looked so confident. I'm like, oh no, this will be a touchdown. Meanwhile, Kyle Lewis was in the tight end's lap with 2 defensive backs over top and was easily picked. So I don't know what that guy was thinking for any portion of the game. Pitt's defense played well. He is also just terrible.
That was a great descriptor, Squid. He stepped into it with the confidence that you were expecting as they panned over. There was just going to be a guy standing at the pylon, no one within 20 yards.
Exactly. I've seen that play work against Pitt so many times, but not that time.
Yeah, Kyle Lewis snuffed that out. Side note, nice to have Kyle Lewis back. He's still really good.
He's the best player on the planet, man. 10 tackles, a pick. He's just everywhere. You can watch him. You can watch Kyle Lewis game on every play, and he's impacting it because
Yeah,
they're either running away from him or he's blowing it up.
He nearly had like a toe tap interception on another pass to the tight end. So he is quite literally everywhere, left, right, deep in the backfield. He's a maniac.
Yeah, so defense had a really, really solid day. We mentioned some of these numbers already, but just to go back over them, allowed -10 rushing yards. They are a top 10 unit in the country at stopping the run. 3 picks, 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 6 balls batted. Gave up 326 yards, and 97 of them were against the twos. Made Stanford have to go down the bench to their second string quarterback. I mean, really just a group that is coming into form and a group that isn't even really healthy, right? I mean, you have Kyle Lewis back from whatever malady he had. I think it was more than likely a concussion. Yeah. Biles is still out. You still have a freshman in Cam Lindsey playing significant snaps. Jaden Moore was on a pitch count. Lynham and Battle have both missed time. There was no Cruz Brookins this week. Kind of gets you thinking, what's this group going to look like at full strength in 2 weeks?
It was an ideal time for the bye week because it's before our toughest stretch, and we had an easier opponent the week before, so we didn't have to force guys who are kind of banged up to play if they weren't ready. Like maybe if we played Notre Dame this week, Rasheed Biles would have been out there, but you don't have to. You don't need him. Cam Lindsey's doing just fine. Against Notre Dame, maybe a different story.
Yeah. Cam Lindsey was exceptional again, second on the team in tackles. One guy I do want to shout out because I feel like he's an unsung hero is Jimmy Scott. Jimmy Scott, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. He's the best edge defender on this team, and I don't think we say his name enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he's been just sneaky, really solid this year.
Yeah.
Don't hear his name a bunch, but yeah, I think he's been good, especially at a unit that has been just decimated by injury. He has been the best end, maybe just because he's the only one who's been able to stay healthy. But yeah, defense played lights out. I think Stanford's offense is really, really bad. So credit to them. Don't get beat by a bad offense. Don't do it. And this game felt early like I felt like everything was happening that would need to happen to keep Stanford in this game. We talked about the drop picks and the goofy broken plays. So even when this game went into halftime, and I don't know how chronological we need to say here, but the game went into halftime at 21-13. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't feel like this was a one possession game. I didn't feel that Pitt was going to lose the game. Now that could change very quickly, bad turnover, kick return for a touchdown, something stupid like that. That swings the momentum. But going into that halftime, I was like, okay, that was a stupid half of football. I feel like Pitt's going to come out here and just bust this game open. And ultimately, they did, not as much as they probably should have. They did not blow this game as wide open as it should have been. This could have been probably a 40-point win. And we'll kind of talk about why it didn't end up being that. But I don't know. This felt like the good team is going to beat the bad team. The bad team has had a few lucky breaks, and the good team will ultimately pull this out. I don't know. I wasn't sweating this game.
No, I think the turning point was the 4th down deuce span Wildcat touchdown.
I'm a fan of the deuce cat, the span cat.
I'm not in theory, but it's worked twice now, and it hasn't not worked at all. So I guess I can't get in theory. I'm like, okay, why are we putting our 5th best receiver in at quarterback in very critical situations? it's just sort of worked.
Former quarterback recruit, went to Illinois initially as a quarterback. And my thing with Deuce Spann is he runs so hard. Like, I feel like every time even on kick returns or on the occasional screen pass they give him, he just puts his head directly down and runs through like a linebacker or a defensive back. So I'm sure they saw that when they were putting this in. And like I said, it's 2 for 2. I will hate this the first time this blows up in our face. Like if we go for it on 4th and 1 against Notre Dame and he gets stuffed.
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. We're going to bust it out, and he's going to pull up to pass,
Mm-hmm.
and instantly that will be enough. Because this is objectively getting too cute.
Tebow jump pass.
Why not?
Don't let
Why
Scott
not?
hear this.
Holmes or the Beaver are down there somewhere. This is objectively getting too cute, but it's 2 for 2, so I'm going to reserve the bitching.
During the NC State game, we were pretty upset because Deuce Spann returned 2 kickoffs to like the 15 and 13 yard line when they were several yards deep in the end zone. And I think his 3rd or 4th kick return, he actually returned to near the 40-yard line, which was great. But after the game, they asked Narduzzi about it, and he said they gave Deuce the green light from 4 yards deep in the end zone. If he catches it 5 yards deep, tell him the fair catch, 4 yards, run away, go for it. So they clearly have seen him make big plays in practice and through the spring or whatever. We haven't seen a ton of it. We've seen a play here.
He's got a
and
handful
there.
of like returns that come out to the 40-yard line. I will give there is something they are setting something up, and I think Narduzzi said they saw things on films with the NC State game specifically that they thought that they could get a big explosive return out of it. So I may own the most Deuce Spann stock is what I'm getting from this conversation right now.
But that was the turning point because I think I was being a coward in the moment and said, you know what, just take your points, tie the game.
You were.
Don't try to get too cute and crazy, and weird things have happened already. We don't want to give Stanford any more momentum. I don't know if momentum exists if there's like 275 people in a football stadium, but I thought we were good enough to beat them. And David's like, well, we are, so we should just pick this up. And we did, and we scored, and the rest was history. I think another thing now, too, is we're so good on first drives, and I'm not sure about after halftime, and I've looked this up, but I think the offense is so good in these scripted drives. Anytime we're in like the middle 8 of the game and we're getting the ball in the second half, I'm like, oh, dude, we get some points here. We are going to score after halftime and blow this game open. So that's why whenever it is close at halftime, I'm not worried about pulling away because I think Cade Bell is in the locker room, like in his bag, like deep, getting this offense ready to put up more points in the second half.
I'm with you, Squid. It feels like this team plays 90% of its football in the first quarter and third quarter, which is crazy, right? Because we've commented before on how horrible all of the scripted drives looked when Holstein was quarterback. So, like, what's changed? Because Mason Heinschel has scored a touchdown on the opening drive of every game he started.
So we didn't score coming out of halftime against Stanford, but I felt like we would have.
No, you're correct. We came out, we went 5 plays, 12 yards, forced a quick punt, and then we scored on a 7-play, 90-yard drive, and then the first play of the next drive, Sean Lee, the true freshman, houses one of those horrible Branson passes, and you blinked, and now it's 35-13, and that felt about right.
Yeah, Sean Lee. Don't need to go too deep on this. I mean, he's just been awesome as a true freshman. Just another star for Narduzzi's staff, going and picking up a 3-star guy, maybe overlooked. I mean, he's from Harrisburg. That's like Penn State territory. I'm pretty sure he's a Penn State legacy, and they just didn't recruit him, didn't offer him.
Yeah, different Sean Lee went to Penn State.
Yeah, no, I wasn't referring to Sean Lee from Upper St. Clair. I believe there is another Sean Lee. family, uncle, something who went to his family has ties with Penn State. And if that's false and I just read that on the layer somewhere, then I'm just gonna go ahead and pretend that that's true and that Penn State messed that up. Either way, he's from Harrisburg. He's from the middle of the state. They didn't recruit him, and now he's starting for us making plays, having the highest graded cornerback performance by PFF, known outlet that we support their statistics, right?
You guys know the rule. PFF is dumb and stupid unless its statistics back up our worldview. And this is one of those cases. Sean Lee is up there in the 90s. He is not letting anybody breathe in coverage. I would like to see him starting at that cornerback position. 6 years in, I think I may have seen enough of Rashad Battle at this point. And we have some young, true freshman stud who's locking everybody down. Dudes, you're a loyal guy. I appreciate it, but this stretch of football games coming up. Let's get the best athletes on the field.
To circle back to the offense, because I'm sure we're going to talk about Mason Heinchel here for at least a few minutes.
Sean Lee's dad did play for Penn State. And it's a different Sean Lee. So I just want to get that on the record that I was not wrong there.
Eat it, Squid.
No, I knew that as well. I was just saying there's another Sean Lee out there that went to Penn State. Anyway, my
same team.
30 seconds of research prior to the Stanford game. Pitt scored a total of 17 points on their opening second half drives. So they come out of the gate strong after half.
But we've been wilting a little bit in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, why is that?
Yep. So do we want to talk about the negative
elephant in the room?
Yeah. We've gone 28 minutes now without mentioning that Mason Heinchel had 4 turnovers on Saturday.
The good news is Mason Heinchel went into the fourth quarter with about 250 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks.
Right.
Then a bunch of stuff happened.
Yeah. So he finished with 304, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks, and he also fumbled on the goal line. So what's our panic meter? How worried are we about the? It's not only that he threw 2 picks; it's where on the field those 2 picks occurred.
Holstein territory.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's right. So that's the shitty part is when you argued for, and I mean like Royal, you, not either of you specifically, when you argue for Holstein to be benched, despite having pretty good numbers otherwise, the clear thing to point to was guy doesn't protect the football inside the 5-yard line. He has 4 picks this season, 4 in the end zone. And that's what you point to. That's the kind of quarterbacking you can't allow. You can't allow him to continue to put us in that position. So for Mason Heinchel to have turnovers inside the 3-yard line on 3 consecutive drives, yeah, I'm a little worried. But I guess the silver lining being, if this has now happened 7 times this season, there's clearly a coaching and play calling element to this.
Is that a silver lining?
Insofar as I'm not ready to admit any fault in the game of Mason Heinchel, and it's got to be somebody else's problem.
I don't know. The Holstein ones, yeah. It's like, look, why are you trying to force this guy who isn't that accurate to hit a very tight window that requires great timing when Holstein just wasn't that kind of passer? Mason has made a lot of great passes like that. Kenny Johnson touchdown had to be thrown in one spot out of the break, and he did, and it was beautiful. His interceptions at the end of the game were almost like so bad, I would like to just write them off as flukes. Like, I don't know. On the one, he threw it right to a defender. He should have just thrown that into the dirt. And the other one, it just seemed like he was trying to make a highlight play when there was nothing there. So I'm not sure what his thought process was, but they were just so extreme. It's weird. I don't know.
So the first one, I felt like that was a very freshman play. The freshman play that we haven't seen from Mason yet. Um, so like looking back at his previous games here, I mean the Syracuse game, he did not play well in that game, but the offense didn't play well. But it didn't feel like he was making mistakes as much as there was just nothing there. He was sacked 7 times. Receivers weren't open. He wasn't making those throws. He did throw a pick in that game, but it didn't feel like he had made any, to this point, like real freshman mistakes. And then he throws that ball on a second down on the 1-yard line, and you throw it directly to a defender in the end zone, where the better option would have been throwing it over his head out of the end zone, throwing it into the dirt. Eating a sack is better than throwing a pick on second down. That was a live to see another day type play that hopefully that's a teaching moment, and you want those teaching moments to happen in games that you aren't at risk of losing. The second one, I think he just kind of got baited by the cornerback and didn't see him there and wasn't a great pick.
He was a hair late on the second one
Right.
because it was a well scripted route to hit Poppy over the middle on like a post pattern, and he just held on to the ball for a beat too long, and whether it was the corner or the safety was able to undercut it.
Yeah, so I think the second one was more of like that was a good play by the defense. He was a little late, whatever. First one was teachable freshman moment. I'd rather have it happen in this game than against Notre Dame in 2 weeks, than against Georgia Tech in 3 weeks, than against Miami in a month.
I know this is not a serious criticism, but I almost viewed the second one as sort of what I would do in a video game where it's like I'm winning by so much, but wouldn't it be cool if I had one more touchdown and try to make an impossible throw, and you have so much confidence already because you're blowing this other team out. So you think you can do anything. Maybe that's just what it was.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of feel like that's what Cade Bell thinks sometimes. Like, we could run the ball in from the 1-yard line here, but
wouldn't it be cooler?
I could also get my star freshman quarterback another touchdown, and then we look really good. We look really cool in the national headlines. Like, we've said this about Cade Bell. He's always trying to prove how smart he is, and I think the goal line issues are part of that. Also, maybe he's just trying to get us more reps, letting Mason throw the ball near the goal line in a somewhat lower pressure situation. Weren't having a ton of success between the tackles. I mean, Boosie Turner had a big game, but a lot of that was, on the outside. Against a team like Notre Dame, may not be a lot of room to run the ball up the middle. So we have to get a little creative on the goal line. I would like to chalk it up to that. I don't know if I believe that's Cade Bell's mentality as much as he wants to have his star freshman throw for 5 touchdowns.
The weird thing is, I think David and I were the ones talking about this at Archie's during the game. Pitt in recent games hasn't really ran the ball like that well overall, but inside the 10-yard line, when they ran the ball, it worked. Like, they've been punching the ball in by running the ball pretty easily, it seemed like. Everywhere else, a little iffy. A lot of 1st and 10 rushes for 1, but whenever they're down inside the 10 and you have hard yards to get, Boosie Turner, Des Reed, Jules Goff have been picking up yards there. So running the ball inside the 10 has been working. So maybe just keep doing that a little bit more.
Yeah, so let's talk about the run game. And then this kind of parlays into turnover number 3 in that second half. I can't figure out this run game, man. Because if you look at the box score, Boosie Turner ran the ball 22 times for 127 yards. Absolute breakout game. If you had any questions about whether this guy could be the future at that position, I hope they are answered by his performance on Saturday. However, this team simply cannot run between the tackles, and any attempt to do so is blatantly futile. I know that's crazy to say when we're talking about a game where our true freshman running back ran for 130 yards and we won by multiple scores. I know it sounds crazy, but you watch drive after drive, read option, run up the middle, first down. All right, it's 2nd and 10. Now you're in a hole. And I think in the series where they run on consecutive downs, there's like a 95% chance they get sacked on 3rd down. So like I have some thoughts, but I want to hear what you guys are making of this run game.
From a person who does not know ball, like football people know ball, X's and O's, what the O linemen are doing. I just know what my eyes tell me, and it's that anytime that they try to run the ball up the middle between the tackles, that it just gets stuffed immediately. Is that Cade Bell does not have a really good run scheme. This offense doesn't have that. He doesn't really spend a lot of time on that type of thing because, when they get the ball on the perimeter, it works. The rugby pitch to Boosie Turner, like that works. When they get Boosie Turner in motion, he's moving and then he's kind of has a little bit of steam out of the motion. That works. Like they pick up yards on those plays. So I don't know what it is other than maybe this scheme isn't meant to run the ball up the middle. But then, like, why do we ever even do it?
That's what I was thinking. I don't know. I'm all for like establishing one part of the game to open up another. You always hear establish the run to open up the pass. And I think Pitt just needs to do the opposite. Just spread them out so much that they have to just maybe throw an extra DB out there, and then maybe you can run the ball up the middle. I'm tired of doing it. I think we should just sling it left and right, and maybe they'll be so caught off guard by us actually running up the middle that it'll work. I would have thought that would work against. Well, Stanford actually has a somewhat decent rush defense.
It's the only thing that they can do as a football team.
But this has been a year-long thing. It's not like a recent thing that's happened.
So spin zone, if not even spin zone, devil's advocate maybe, if Mason doesn't turn the ball over inside the 3-yard line 3 times, the offense still scores 56 points on Saturday. So, like, does it matter?
We should have been in the 50s. I mean, it doesn't matter when you're playing Stanford, but when you're playing a team with a pulse and a coaching staff that isn't there on an interim basis, it's going to matter. I think my take on the matter, and I say I think because it's a theory in progress, is that ideally Mason is a number in the run game, and that opens things up because it didn't seem like there was a lot of risk that from Stanford's perspective that he was going to pull one of those read options and take off. I think Pitt has been very careful about running him in that 3-game stretch where we just played a couple bad teams. I mean, when you look at designed runs for him, or let's just call them non-sack runs, he had 11 against Florida State. He had 5 against Syracuse, 3 against NC State, and he ran the ball 6 times against Stanford. I think he is supposed to be a number in the run game, and especially after he got his bell rung a couple times and was hurting his shoulder was clearly hurting against Syracuse. They pulled that back significantly. So I'm hopeful that in a game where we are emptying the clip, he is going to be more of a number in the run game. But then on the tail end of that, he's worrying me. That guy is not taking care of the football. That is a loaf of bread in his arms in the open field. And that brings us to turnover number 3 in the red zone. He got his clock cleaned and ball immediately hit the carpet when he decided to keep it on the read option.
So Narduzzi said after the game, correct me if I'm wrong, that there was supposed to be a shovel pass in there.
Yes.
And that was blown up, so he just had to tuck it and go. First of all, I don't want any situation in that point of the game where Mason needs to be running the ball, lowering his head, running the ball up the middle. We're so close to getting to this bye week in this pivotal 3-game stretch, relatively healthy. Nothing could have sucked the wind out of this program more than Mason just breaking a collarbone on the goal line there. And he got lit up when he fumbled. Like, he got borderline targeting, dome to dome. I was pretty pissed off about that call. Knowing that it was a blown up play, I guess that makes it a little bit better, but like, don't put him in that situation. Yeah, David, I'm kind of at the point where I just assume he's going to fumble anytime he gets tackled. So either teach that young man how to slide, or I don't know, have him carry a football around the facility all week and just have Narduzzi hitting him with the tackling dummy thing or the stick and just have him chasing him around all week.
I
Watch
support
that shit
the
high and
decision,
tight.
yeah. It's crazy because on one hand, you could just say on the fumbles, he did legitimately get blasted. But he got hit in the head.
Oh,
and I was like,
think you
God,
could have
please
called
don't
a
do
targeting on either of his fumbles.
Yeah. So they're not necessarily like easy fumbles he's giving up.
But you have
you
to
think back
think,
to the Florida State game, he got blindsided and coughed it up. Thankfully, Boosie Turner was in the right spot to pick it up. But it's happened so much that you kind of don't want to do it. But then he makes a play where he was scrambling and jukes like 4 guys and picked up 12. Like, oh, he's an athlete. So I don't know what you do.
just to hop in here real quick, Squid. Think about it though. He's 18-year-old freshman quarterback. These guys are hearing all week how awesome this 18-year-old freshman quarterback is, how good he is.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's the next big thing. He's going to get a big bag in the NIL. He's all over their scouting report. He's going to have a target on his back. Those guys are coming for blood every single time they have a chance at him. Like, that's not going to stop.
And the defenders are only going to get bigger, faster, and stronger. Notre Dame's got NFL dudes on their defense. I don't know a whole lot about Georgia Tech's defense, but they seem pretty solid. And Miami has NFL players left and right too. So it's going to be
future number 1 overall pick, Ruben Bain.
Kendall Stanley will box him up.
Don't even. A lot of my Rashad Battle ire was supposed to be aimed at Kendall Stanley as well. So thank you for reminding me that he exists. No, another part of it is, a lot of the components of Mason's game the past few weeks have not looked like a freshman. One thing that does look like a freshman is his physique. They're going to want to put some weight on him in the offseason. So when he gets blasted in the open field, this is just kind of what happens. So we need him to fix the way he's toting that rock to fix other problems. I think if he can hang on to the ball, we can use him in the run game. If we can use him in the run game, that makes it a lot easier to run between the tackles or at all with Boozy and Desmond Reed. And then that opens up the passing game, but it all starts with him holding that thing high and tight.
Yeah, and if that's not going to be if they can't implement that this season, I'm kind of okay with that. I'm okay with him not getting lit up over these last 3 games, multiple times a game. Every time he gets tackled, I hold my breath.
Yeah. So
Kenny
do we have
Johnson's
any?
Good.
Kenny Johnson's very good.
Poppy Williams, pretty good.
Any final thoughts on the game at Stanford?
Those were mine.
Noted.
Went out to the West Coast for the first time under Narduzzi. Weird game, pretty empty stadium. Leave with a 2-score win. Get back for a bye week. We're always going to find things to worry about, but I think all in all, that was a successful business trip out to Palo Alto.
Absolutely. So we've closed the book on the easy part of our schedule. And now we stare down the barrel of 3 top 20 teams to close out the season with a backdoor shot at an ACC championship game appearance on the line. How do we feel about those words I just said?
If you would have told me this after the Louisville game, I would have said, get out of my face. You're just pissing me off. Yeah, didn't expect to be here a month and a half ago. And what an opportunity it is. A little nerve-wracking, having something to play for here. Seeing Pitt's name being thrown around by some of the more national writers, national talking heads, has been good to have some notoriety, but also like shut up when you try to throw us into the mix. That's when bad things happen. Just let
Don't
us
look at us.
Yeah, just let us sneak by, and then want everyone to look up, last week of the season, like, wait, Pitt's what? Pitt's gonna sneak in? What's going on here?
I think it's so funny that the top of the ACC right now is Virginia, Georgia Tech, Pitt, and Duke.
Coastal, huh?
Yeah. Everyone's so annoyed. Everyone's talking trash on the ACC. These are great football teams. They're powerhouses. They're here to stay. Sorry, Clemson. Your time's done.
Clemson and Florida State. Do you think they're gonna make a big deal about going to the SEC this offseason?
Maybe not this one. I've really been trying to manage my expectations going into these final 3 weeks, because let's face it, we haven't played anybody. We've just beat the piss out of a bunch of terrible teams. However, I've watched entire seasons where, like, Michigan runs that exact script 11 of the 12 weeks, just wins by 20 to 30 against the worst collection of football players you've ever watched, and it has resulted in a national championship. So I'm just saying, I'm not comparing us to that team. There's been circumstances in college football where we've seen whole seasons that looked like the last 3-4 weeks for Pitt by very good teams that went places, that achieved their goals. I'd feel a lot worse if we played any of these terrible teams closely, but we didn't. We beat the hell out of them.
Yeah, I think that's a sign that you are good. Like, it's not smoke and mirrors. It's not they're just beating bad teams. Like, when you just handle those bad teams, and you handle some of those bad teams in games where you don't play particularly well, I think that's a sign of a good football team. And I do think this Pitt team is a good football team with Mason Heinschel at quarterback. And I think we talked about this earlier. I think all 3 games left on the schedule are gettable. I also wouldn't be surprised if we went 0-3. 0-3 and 3-0 would be equally surprising to me.
Yeah, Pitt will be underdogs in all of these games the more I think about it. Maybe just by a couple points, but still, they'll be underdogs. And it'll take Pitt playing close to, if not their A game, to win them. It's not like we're playing NC State, who is pretty good, Florida State, who's okay, but those are games you can lose if you're playing your C+ game and they're playing well. Even if Notre Dame's a little bit off, even if Carson Beck isn't playing that well, even if Haynes King doesn't have 400 all-purpose yards, they can still beat us. So it's going to take everyone to be on their A game. No more Rashad Battle, volleyball tips to receivers. No more All-Americans being hurt. Like, we can get by without Des Reed here and there, but if we don't have Des Reed going into Notre Dame, I'll
Tough sledding.
be concerned. I feel like we're going to need a Des Reed 100-yard receiving game to pull some of these out. And thankfully, we will have all of those weapons, more than likely, knock on wood. So I'm ready. The bye week is needed, but I'm ready to play some more football.
Squid, you are right. If they set the lines today, Pitt's probably a score plus underdog in all 3 of these games. But I'm telling you, If Pitt beats the Fighting Irish in 2 weeks, the entire script on this team is flipping.
True.
We're favored in those last 2 games. We're favored to make a run in the ACC. And everybody in the country, like it or not, if you're a Pitt fan, is going to be talking about the Pitt Panthers and the run they're on. That's just what's going to happen if they beat the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, they need that win to legitimize what they've been doing. If I was a fan of another team and I looked at the results of this season, I would say, oh, so they lost to a terrible West Virginia team and now they've beat a bunch of bad teams in the ACC. Like I'm not touting them. Do you think that, not to jump ahead to this, do you think we'll get ranked by the College Football Playoff Committee? I knew the AP poll wasn't going to rank us. Do you think we
Yes.
get in on Tuesday?
Yes, their job is to pay attention to the whole sport. And just quick acknowledgement that there is absolutely bias on that committee, as there is in every corner of college football. But pollsters aren't going to like objectively look at the facts and the results of every single team the way that the CFP committee is going to. And so, you know, we fall victim to our lack of brand recognition when it comes to the AP poll. But I think we're far more likely to get ranked Tuesday night, which is tomorrow, by the committee, because I think they will be able to isolate those last handful of games with Mason Heinschel starting and say, this is a completely different Pitt team than lost to West Virginia and Louisville. And given what they have in front of them, they could make a serious run at something significant. So yes, I do think we will be ranked tomorrow.
It's going to be interesting. I want to lean no, because I think at this point it's all kind of just, it's a show. So they're going to prop up the teams that are cool, and they might rank a team just so they can add a ranked win to another team's resume to justify putting them there. It doesn't really matter until the last like 2-3 weeks, and that's whenever they actually position teams in a way to like make a case for the playoff. Something in Pitt's favor is we have a cool freshman quarterback, and everyone loves talking about cool freshman quarterback. So that's a storyline.
People love storylines.
Yeah, better or for worse, it is a storyline that people have enjoyed talking about nationally. Like there are a good amount of 7-2 teams that you probably forgot about, even if you follow college football. Like if I pulled up all the teams who are 7-2 right now, I would probably be like, oh, I didn't know those 2 teams were 7-2. And they might not be that interesting. They might just be kind of good teams that have a favorable schedule, but they don't have a cool freshman quarterback. And people nationally have talked about Mason Heinschel week in, week out ever since his debut. So for that reason, I think they might sneak in.
But also, who cares?
We are also the only Power 4 team with 7 wins who is not currently in the AP top 25.
So after I just talked through that, maybe Pitt will be ranked there to... I'm looking too far ahead to make it a ranked matchup against Notre Dame. They want to give Notre Dame another rank to win to justify them being in there.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say, for the sake of ABC, ESPN has just locked this in as their noon kick on November 15th. Another noon game. I know. I was really pulling for a night game.
Furious.
But we got a noon kick. I'm sure they'd like to see 2 little numbers next to the names there. Number 10 Notre Dame versus number 25 Pitt.
Yeah, and the conspiracy theory is they want Notre Dame in the playoff, and unfortunately for Notre Dame, they lost to their 2 toughest tests, and everyone else on their
only 2 teams
kind of fell apart.
Yeah. The only 2 good teams they played.
Notre Dame needs Pitt to be good to have a quality win to get in the playoff, perhaps.
They need to rank Pitt to validate Notre Dame and to validate putting Notre Dame in the playoff in a couple weeks.
All right.
We can benefit from that, and then we can, take care of business on the field where it's within our capacity to do so.
Yes, our capacity, us 3.
By saying please win.
Do our part.
So what are you guys going to do with your bye week?
Gonna watch Pitt basketball. What are you talking about?
That's a segue. Do we want to do our 2 minutes of Pitt basketball?
How many games do they have this week?
2. We got
Yeah.
David's going off camera for this one. Yeah, we got Youngstown State tonight, season opener, and then they play Longwood on Friday. Two huge matchups. All right, Squid. We won't make David partake here, but give me your 30 seconds on this Pitt basketball team. What you're hoping for, what you're thinking, and anything. Any 30 seconds you want to do, go for it.
They have a couple of new guys who I think I might like. Capel talked about building this team on toughness, which is great. It seemed like they had some talented guys last year, but they weren't very tough. So for that reason, I like it. But as a collective team, I don't think they will be that good. So I'm not going to get excited until they prove it to me. And I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I have no expectations for this basketball season, and I don't think many Pitt fans do. I had a friend reach out earlier today, says, now that tip-off is near, it's the day of, do you have any optimism at this point? And I said, I'm not super optimistic, but you kind of touched on they wanted to get tougher. Reports early have been DeMarco Minor, transfer point guard from Oregon State, tough as nails, just kind of like a junkyard dog at the point guard spot. Nojus Indrasitis, no clue if I'm pronouncing that right, but the transfer from Iowa State, early feedback on him is that he's pretty physical for a guard.
We'll wait and see how Hillgrove pronounces his name, then we'll know.
Right.
That'll be an easy one for him.
And then, they have Roman Salupa, rugby player, playing at that power forward spot. So what I'm getting at here is they did try to go out and get some guys who maybe are a little more physical. I don't think they're going to be able to shoot the ball. There's not much shooting on this team. I don't know who is going to lead this team in scoring. I could see this being one of those teams who you have like 3 guys in the 10 to 12 point range, and you have a different leading scorer every night. I still have concerns about front court. I mean, Cam Corrin, he was one of the reasons, along with the other players and their performance last season, that we pretty much stopped doing this podcast during basketball season. But he was about as frustrating as a Pitt basketball player as I can remember watching last year. I hope he figures it out. So basically what I'm getting at is I have hopes that this team can maybe have some type of identity. Maybe they're tough. Maybe they defend. Maybe they can grind out some wins and be competitive in the ACC. And I'm hoping that's the case and that this is a team that I can get behind, that they show some grit, that they show some toughness, that, hey, not the most talented team, not going to put up 100 points every night, but they're tough, they battle, and they can really give it to some of these better teams in the ACC, make it tough on them, make it tough to come into the Pete and win. I'm expecting a middle of the pack to lower half of the ACC finish, probably another year of playing on the first day of the ACC tournament. Like I said, don't have super high expectations, but the funny thing about Pitt basketball is I always kind of come around. All it's going to take is Nojus hitting like 4 threes tonight against Youngstown State, and then I'm going to be bought in on him as an all ACC guy. They start the season 2-0 with 2 big wins. I'll be talking myself into them making a run and probably complaining about Joe Lenardi's brackets in about 2 weeks here.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a lot of optimism. I think
David's ears just perked up at complaining about brackets.
You said my favorite words. No, sorry, I was just reading a lair thread about people being too mean to Rashad Battle and immediately feeling bad and guilty.
Yeah, you're a jerk.
I am.
It was all you. It wasn't us. But yeah, closing thoughts on Pitt basketball. I had a similar interaction, Dylan. I talked to someone up at basketball, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think they'll be good." And then the next day, they beat Providence in an exhibition, which exhibitions might not mean anything, but Providence was also picked fourth in the Big East, and preseason predictions also don't mean anything because those are just always wrong. I mean, just look at the ACC football preseason predictions. So I don't know what to think. All I do know is we win 2-3 games. I could be convinced to go to Hershey to watch them play Penn State.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this could be a very funny listen tomorrow morning for people listening if they go out and lay an egg against Youngstown State tonight. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, we should have prefaced this by saying if Pitt loses to Youngstown State, just skip to the end of the episode.
It's better this way.
Yeah.
All
David,
right.
give us a one prediction. Pick a number.
Yeah.
This is the official Loyal
what does
Sons.
the number represent?
How many wins they have this year?
18. It's going to be a mirror of the last 2 years where they get a little hot at the end of out of conference play, and we're all thinking things, and we're all tweeting mean things at Joe Lunardi, and then they have a total collapse in the back half of the schedule.
They do have
A lot of cool recruits,
this
though.
year.
Got a lot of new recruits coming in that highly touted.
Should the goal be don't bottom out to the point where the recruits next year lose interest and go elsewhere? / keep Capel around?
Working theory here. Capel's recruited so well this year because he's put in some extra effort, some extra hours, maybe some extra bag work to get those guys more money because he thinks this team's going to suck and that's what's going to save his job. So there's your Pitt basketball season preview with the Loyal Sons. All right, fellas, the Hoops game starts in about a half hour. Despite our lack of optimism, I still am going to sit down and watch all 40 minutes of that game. So let you boys go.
I know we've already gone over, but can I do 2 quick programming notes?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. 1. Next week, we are going to be doing a Q&A session in the lead up to the Notre Dame game. So if you are listening to this, you can start texting, emailing, DMing your questions to us. We'll give you a shout out if we read your question. Give us something good. It doesn't even have to be football related. Ask Squid what his favorite color is. Squid don't answer that. Make them wait for it. Number 2. We will be hosting a big-ass tailgate for the Notre Dame game. Would have been way cooler if it was midday or a night game. But when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. At that tailgate, for which we will send out the details at a later date, we are going to be having a can drive. Can for a can. You bring us canned goods, we give you a can of ice-cold Iron City Light. The particulars of that, the pantry that it benefits, as well as the particular needs that would be great if you brought, because not everybody can bring canned green beans. That is also to follow. But Thanksgiving's coming up, holiday season's coming up. Let's do something nice for the community, Pitt fans. So be on the lookout. Send us your questions. Start storing up some cans and get some rest. You deserve it. It's bye week. We've been through a lot. Those are my 2 things.
Good stuff, David. All right. Well, I'll let you fellas go. As always, thanks for listening. Enjoy your bye week. Enjoy Pitt hoops. Or maybe you won't. We'll see. But as always, hail, Loyal Sons of Pittsburgh.